ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ರಪ್ಪ.
The aims and objects of life conceived in terms of worldly ends are almost meaningless. We forget that pains and miseries are only
ಅದು ಅಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಂತ ಇರ್ಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ?
ಇದು PDF ವರ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ ಸರ್. ಇದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ
ಅಲ್ಲ,
ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಇದೆ.
ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲೂ ಹಂಗೆ ಇದೆ, ಬುಕ್ಕಲ್ಲೂ ಹಂಗೆ ಇದೆ, ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಇದೆ. ಅದು ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಇರ್ಬೇಕದು, ಬಟ್ ಏನು ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಂತ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಿಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಇರ್ಲಿ ಬಿಡಿ, ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಓದಿ.
We forget that pains and miseries are only the symptoms of a disease, but the disease lies elsewhere. To practice devotion to please God in order to secure worldly comforts or gains is but a mockery. The problem before us is not more deliverance from pain and misery, but freedom from bondage, which is the ultimate cause of pain and misery. Freedom from bondage is liberation. It is different
ಆ
from
ಲೈನ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ, ಆ ಲೈನ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಅಸ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಮೇಯರ್ ಡೆಲಿವರೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ, ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಬಾಂಡೇಜ್ ಇಸ್ ಲಿಬರೇಷನ್ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಿ.
freedom from bondage is liberation. It is different from salvation, which is not the end of the process of rebirth. Salvation is only a temporary pause in the rotation. It is the suspension of the process of birth and death only for a certain fixed period, after which we again assume the material form. The endless circle of rebirth ends only when we have secured liberation. It is the end of our pains and miseries. Anything short of liberation cannot be taken as the goal of life, although there remains still a lot beyond it. We find but a few persons who have even liberation as the final goal of their life, which represents the lowest rung in the spiritual flight. The problem of life remains totally unsolved if we are below this level. There are persons who may say that they do not want mukti, liberation. They only want to come again and again into this world and practice bhakti, devotion. Their goal of life is undetermined and indefinite. Bhakti and nothing beyond, as they say, is their goal. Really, they are attracted by the charming effect of the condition of a bhakta, devotee, and like to remain entangled in it forever. They do it only to please themselves. Freedom from eternal bondage is not possible so as long as we are within entanglements. The natural yearning of
ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ, ಒಂದೊಂದು ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ವಿ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ರಿಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್. ಸೀದಾ ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋದಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಈ ಎರಡು ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಸ್ಯಾಲ್ವೇಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಲಿಬರೇಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಲಿಬರೇಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟ್ ಇಂಟು ದ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡೆತ್. ಸ್ಯಾಲ್ವೇಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಟೆಂಪರರಿ ಪಾಸ್. ಸರಿನಾ? ಲಿಬರೇಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಲೋಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ರಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ದ ladder of the spiritual journey. It's the lowest level, not the highest level. And there are people who say that we want to come back and be as a bhakta multiple times because they are attached to the charming effect of the state of bhakta, condition of the bhakta. They don't want liberation. And that Babaji says that their goal of life is undetermined and indefinite. And that's not what we want. We want to clearly, the whole chapter is the goal of life. Name of the chapter is goal of life. So he's trying to shed light how much clarity we need to have as far as the goal of life is concerned. That's the whole point of this particular chapter. Sarina? So the minimum thing that he is asking us to do is at least keep liberation as the goal. That's the minimum. Although there are a lot of further stages in spirituality which comes after liberation is achieved. Sarina? So freedom from bondage is liberation. ಇದು ನಿಮಗೆ 1 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಲಿಬರೇಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸಾಲ್ವೇಷನ್, ಅದು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟು ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸರಿ, ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಓದ್ರಿ ಇವಾಗ.
The natural yearning of soul is to be free from bondage.
ಇಲ್ಲ, freedom from eternal bondage is not possible as long as we are within entanglements. ಈಗ ಓದ್ರಿ.
The natural yearning of soul is to be free from bondage. If there is one who does not like to free himself from the entanglements, there is no solution for him. Bhakti is the means of achieving the goal and not the goal itself. The fact as
ಅಂಡರ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ರಿ, ನಿಮಿಷ ಅಂಡರ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ರಿ. Bhakti is the means of achieving the goal and not the goal itself. So if you say that I don't want to go towards the goal, but I want to be in the state of bhakti, then you are not really going towards the goal. It's like saying that I need to just go around in the car. But even if you go around in the car, you can go for a long drive, but at the end of long drive, you have to come out of the car. Because the car is only a means to reach a particular goal. And it could just well be that you just go around in the car and come back to the same point where you started. But still you have to get out of the car. So the vehicle that you use to reach a particular goal, whether you actually reach the goal or not, if you don't keep a goal in mind, the vehicle will bring you back to where you started. And that's very, very important to keep in mind. Serena. So this is important. Bhakti is the means of achieving the goal and not the goal itself. Either.
the fact, as I have stated above, is that they are allured by the charming effect of the primary condition and do not want to get away from it at any time. The narrow view that they have taken bars their approach to a broader vision, and anything beyond is out of their sight. Another fallacious argument advanced in support of the above view is that devotion, if practiced with any particular object in view, is far from being nishkam, that is desireless. The theory of nishkam upasana, or the desireless devotion, as laid down in the Gita, emphasizes upon us to practice devotion without keeping in view any specific purpose. It really means that we should practice devotion without our eyes being fixed upon any worldly object or without caring for the satisfaction of our desires. It does not stop us from fixing our mind upon the goal of life, which is absolutely essential for those on the march.
So this paragraph talks about the difference between Nishkama karma that people talk about. Nishkama karma andre they think that you should not fix a goal only. Nishkama karma andre you should not worry about the mind being fixed on any worldly object or without caring for any satisfaction of our desires. That is Nishkama karma. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಡ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ನಿಷ್ಕಾಮ, ಕಾಮ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಡಿಸೈರ್, ನಿಷ್ಕಾಮ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಡಿಸೈರ್ಲೆಸ್. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ನಿಷ್ಕಾಮ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಡಿಸೈರ್ಲೆಸ್. Now that doesn't mean to say that you should not have a goal in life. So that's wrong. So you have to have clarity between these two things. Niskama karma, which is not fixing our goal as a worldly object or desire to be fulfilled, but having a broader goal in mind, which is the goal of life itself. In other words, Nishkama karma means get aligned to the larger goal, not get stuck by the smaller goals. That's all it is. That is what Nishkama karma means. Nishkama karma doesn't mean to say that you don't fix any goal in life only. Be aligned to the broader point, broader goal, not to worry about the smaller goals. Say one simple example here, the one day match only, you want to win the match, that is your goal. But there are some overs where you might, the bowling is very tight and you might not be able to hit some runs. So you should not feel panic about that. So you might not be able to fulfill some smaller goals, but you still need to keep the larger goal in mind, that about winning the match. There are some phases in life where we should not be entangled by worldly objects or desires. But we should be very clear that we need to have a particular goal in life. So 2 over ಮೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ, 2 over ಮೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಕ್ಷಣ ನಾ ಈ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ವಿನ್ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಗೋಲ್ನ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡು ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ಲ. 2 over ಮೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು ಕೂಡ in the context of having given the maiden, how can I still win the match? So the goal about winning the match should always be there. So the goal about the life should always be there. But we should not get entangled. ಈಗ 2 over ಮೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ ಅಂತ ಅಕ್ಷಣ ನಾ 2 over ಮೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ ಅಂತಾನೆ ತಲೆ ಕೆಡಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋ 48 hours ನಾನು ನೋಡೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. I will not utilize it for my journey, for my goal. So I'll get lost in the last two things, which is what has happened in the last 2 hours. So people confuse between Nishkama karma. Nishkama karma andre not fixing our goal towards worldly object or worldly desires. But the broader goal of life itself, which is liberation, is absolutely necessary. That's what Babuji is talking about. And many people confuse that Nishkama karma andre liberation no goal itkobardu anta galate ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಗೋಲ್ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುಯಾಲಿಟಿಲಿ ಅಂತ. That is going to make the mind aimless. Mind requires something to go towards. Mind aimless ಆಗೋಯ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿ ವ್ಯಾಂಡ್ರಿಂಗ್. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ನೀವು ಮನೆಯಿಂದ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಮನೆಯಿಂದ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಹೋದಾಗಲೂ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಗೋಲ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಹೋಗ್ತೀಯ. ಇಲ್ಲ ವಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಜಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಆಫೀಸ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಇಲ್ಲ ತರಕಾರಿ ತರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಏನೋ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಗೋಲ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬರೋದು ಮನೆಯಿಂದ. ನೀ ಏನೋ ಗೋಲ್ ಇರಿಂದ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬರ್ತೀಯ ನೀನು? ಯಾವತ್ತು ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬರ್ತೀಯ? ಏನೂ ಗೋಲ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀರಾ? Even if you say that I'm going to just do 1 hour of walking, you're still having a goal. So, not having a goal, ನಮ್ಮ ಸೈಕ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ವ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ವ್ಯಾಂಡರಿಂಗ್ aimlessly. Now, that is what people will become if they don't have a goal in life. They'll be aimlessly wandering in the state of so-called bhakta. And they think that bhakta itself, state of bhakta itself is the highest. No. The state of bhakta need to metamorphosis into something higher. It's only a means to reach the goal, and state of bhakta itself is not the goal for us. ಸರಿನಾ? ಆಯ್ತು, ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋದಪ್ಪ.
The goal of life means nothing but the point we have finally to arrive at. It is, in other words, the reminiscence of our homeland or the primeval state of our present solid existence, which we have finally to return to. It is only the idea of destination which we keep alive in our minds, and for that we practice devotion only as duty. Duty for duty's sake is without doubt nishkam karma, or the selfless action, and to realize our goal of life is our bounden duty.
So, ನಿಷ್ಕಾಮ ಕರ್ಮ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ he says that realizing our goal of life is our bounden duty. So that does not actually preclude us from having a goal and working towards that goal as a duty. ಸರಿನಾ? ಆಯ್ತು, ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ರಪ್ಪ.
Now I come to the point what the real goal of life should be. It is generally admitted that the goal must be the highest, otherwise progress up to the final limit is doubtful. For this, it is necessary to have a clear idea of the highest possible limit of human approach. We have before us examples of Rama and Krishna, the two incarnations of the divinity. We worship them with faith and devotion and want to secure union with them. Automatically, that becomes our goal of life, and we can, at the utmost, secure approach up to their level. Now, Rama and Krishna as incarnations were special personalities vested with supernatural powers to work as medium for the accomplishment of the work which nature demanded and for which they had come. They had full command over various powers of nature and could utilize them at any time in a way they thought proper. The scope of their activity was limited in accordance with the nature of the work they had to accomplish. They descended from the sphere of Mahamaya, which is a state of godly energy in the subtle form, hence the most powerful. It is due to this fact that we find excellent results coming into effect through their agency in their lifetime. The highest possible point of human approach is much beyond the sphere of Mahamaya, hence a good deal above that level. It may be surprising to most of the readers, but it is a fact beyond doubt. The final
ಮಹಾಮಾಯ,
Yeah.
ಮಹಾಮಾಯ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ 11 and 13 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್. ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಬರಲ್ವಾ? 13 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ? 13 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 11ರಿಂದ 13ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ರೀಜನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮಹಾಮಾಯ. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಕೆಟ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. Rama came from the lower end of the Mahamaya. That's why he had more human attributes. Rama ತುಂಬಾ ಮ್ಯಾಜಿಕ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ. Krishna came from the higher end of the Mahamaya. So he had more divine attributes. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ he could do so many things even as a small child baby. Because he was endowed with that special divine powers. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ನಾವು ಕೆಟ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. So Rama came from around the 11th point ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ, lower end. 11 to 13 ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ lower end, around 11th point. Krishna came from around the 13th point because he was endowed with that higher powers. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಬುಜಿ ಏನ್ ಬರೀತಾರೆ? Rama and Krishna are only the two avatars, two incarnations. He does not talk about any other incarnation. ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? ದಶಾವತಾರ ಅಂತ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ವಾ? ನಪ್ಕ ಇದೆಯಾ? ವಿಷ್ಣುಗೆ 10 ಅವತಾರಗಳಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಅವತಾರ ಇನ್ನೂ ವಿಷ್ಣುನೇ ತಗೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ, ನಾವೇ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅವನಿಗೆ. ನೀನು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕಲಿಕೆ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಅಂತ ನಾವೇ ಅವತಾರ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅವನಿಗೆ. ವಿ ಆರ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಕಮ್ ಆಸ್ ಕಲಿಕೆ ಓನ್ಲಿ, ಅದರ್ವೈಸ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಯು ಅಂತ. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸಿ ಹೌ ಪವರ್ಫುಲ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಇಸ್. Lord has not come down, but we've already chosen and we have told him this is how you have to come. ಕುದುರೆ ಇರುತ್ತಂತೆ, ಬಿಳಿ ಕುದುರೆ ಇರುತ್ತಂತೆ, ಕತ್ತಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾನಂತೆ, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೀವಿ ನಾವು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅವನಿಗೆ. ಅವ್ನು ಹಂಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾನೋ ಬಿಡ್ತಾನೋ ಜರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ದ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಕೇಪಬಲ್ ಆಫ್. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ our goal is not even securing union with Rama and Krishna. That's not our goal. Our goal is far beyond that also. ಮುಂಚೆ 2 ಪೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಲಿಬರೇಷನ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ದ ಗೋಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. Now he is talking about Mahamaya, where Rama and Krishna came from, and he says now Mahamaya is also not our goal. Something beyond that is our goal ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ನೋಡೋಣ. But one point he is hinted is the goal should be the highest. ಆಯ್ತಾ? That a human being, the idea of highest possible limit of human approach. That is our goal. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಈಗ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀತಾರೆ ಹೈಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ಬರೀತಾರೆ. ರಾಮನ್ಗೂ ಕೃಷ್ಣನ್ ಸ್ಥಿತಿಗೂ ಮೀರಿದಂತ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಯಾವ್ದದು? ಈಗ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀತಾರೆ.
The final point of approach is where every kind of force, power, activity, or even stimulus disappears and a man enters a state of complete negation, nothingness or zero. That is the highest point of approach or the final goal of life.
ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಆ ಲೈನ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಫೈನಲ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಇಂದ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಗೋಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಂತ ಅದು ಅಂಡರ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಅದಿಷ್ಟು 4-5 ಲೈನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ರಿಯಲ್ ಗೋಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಉತ್ತರ ನಥಿಂಗ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ ಝೀರೋ ಅಂತ ಬರೀಬೇಕು. ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ನೆಗೇಷನ್. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ರಿಯಲ್ ಗೋಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಲೈಫ್, ವೇರ್ ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ಎನ್ ಎಂಡ್. ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ಎನ್ ಎಂಡ್? ಆಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್, power, activity, and even stimulus disappears. This is the highest point of approach or the final goal of life. This is like what Babuji talks about, a dry desert-like condition. That is the state of nothingness.
But sir, one doubt itto illi. See, if goal is nothingness or zero ane goal anta andre, doesn't it feel very empty anta? The goal itself is not so, it feels so empty to actually even approach for it anta. So I don't know.
You are assuming two things here. Just because you reach the state of emptiness, it doesn't mean to say that you become totally dysfunctional in this life. If you are able to reach that state of emptiness beyond, after giving up this body, then you will work out what to do after that. If you are going to reach the state of zero or nothingness with this body intact, then you will work out what to do with this body after reaching the stage. So we don't need to worry that just because we reach the stage of nothingness or zero, we are going to become dysfunctional or non-functional in this life. Nothing of that kind is ever going to happen. In fact, we become so highly functional, so automatically functional that we can actually do things at will. When you enter into that state of highest state of nothingness, we get a unfailing will. And with an unfailing will.
Yes.
Sorry?
Just on practical question, sir. Have you talked to somebody who's reached this state in with this body, or have you personally actually kind of are in that pursuit of goal, or have you slightly achieved that goal in that context anta?
Everyone is in different stages of evolution. You are at the lowest rung of evolution, so your willpower is limited to a certain extent. As you go higher and higher in the spiritual points, your willpower becomes stronger and stronger. The very fact that Master has actually made you a preceptor indicates that your willpower has now been made more stronger. That's one of the things that you get when you start working as a preceptor. But preceptor is also an abhyasi. So they also continue their journey while they would do the work of the preceptor. So in our words, if you have that ability to look around and then identify people who are at different stages of spiritual evolution, you can easily correlate that with their willpower. The highest person is one who has such an unfailing willpower that if they wish something, they automatically happen. But they cannot wish anything which is against divinity. That's the thing. So two things. At the higher level, when you start going towards the state of zero or nothingness, you get an unfailing will. But that unfailing will now becomes in tune with what the divine wishes. So you don't have your own wish at that time. Whatever the divine wills, that is what you wish. And that is what will happen. So you become a medium for that particular wish to be fulfilled. Yes, of course, we have met quite a few people. There are many people in our system who are at different stages of developing this unfailing will. And that unfailing will is called as Brahmanishta, state of Brahmanishta. Brahmanishta antandre, they develop this unfailing will. So nothing can stand against it. So if they wish something, it is bound to happen. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಪರ್ಸೆಪ್ಟರ್ ಆದಾಗ when we say that no transmission goes waste. And transmission backed by will never go waste. Time it might take, but it will manifest. So just a question of time. The stronger the willpower, the faster the manifestation. Now, if the willpower is not as strong, it takes a bit more time, that's all. But it is unfailing. ಅನ್ಫೇಲಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ತುಂಬಾ ಜನ ಏನ್ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್. ದ ಹೈಯರ್ ದ ವಿಲ್ ಪವರ್, the faster the manifestation. The less the willpower, unfailing it is, but longer the time taken. Human beings, when they are devoid of the divine element, also have a willpower. But it's just that the time taken is pretty long. So ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬಾ ವರ್ಷಗಳು ಒಂದೇ ಆಸೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. So it takes years together for that will to manifest. ಒಂದೇ ಆಸೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ವಿಲ್ ಪವರ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ, so it takes years together. When the willpower is strong, it manifests pretty quickly. Now, many times as normal human beings, we don't pay attention to this aspect of the willpower. I keep telling them, you say something, and if you don't act on what you say, your willpower is weakened. And very few people look at utilizing the willpower or developing the willpower. They want their desire to be fulfilled, but they don't want to back their desire with strong will. Having desire is one thing, developing a strong will to back it is another thing. And we are all good at wanting to have a desire fulfilled. We are all good at having desires, but we don't want to back it up with a strong will. And the strong will is something when we become more subtler, we develop that stronger will. The more subtle we become, the stronger the willpower that becomes. So don't confuse between unfailing will versus immediate manifestation of the will. ತುಂಬಾ ಜನ ಇವೆರಡು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಯ್ತಾ? Of course, when we go to higher stages, willpower is so strong that there is lightning manifestation of the will. We call it as lightning manifestation. I've known few people who have that lightning manifestation. But then remember, for that lightning manifestation to occur, we should not have any samskaras of our own or any wishes or desire of our own, and our system should be so pure that it's entirely medium of the divine. ಆ ಸ್ಟೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದ ಡಿವೈನ್ ವಿಶಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ಲಿ. ಈ ಸಿನಿಮಾದೆಲ್ಲ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಶಿವ ಒಂದು ಕೂದಲು ತೆಗೆದು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಹಾಕ್ತಾನೆ, ವೀರಭದ್ರ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. ಅನ್ಫೇಲಿಂಗ್ ವಿಲ್, ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಲೈಟ್ನಿಂಗ್ ವಿಲ್, ಅದೇ ಲೈಟ್ನಿಂಗ್ ವಿಲ್ ಅದು. ಅದಾಯ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ಅದು ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಎ ಡಿವೈನ್ ಪವರ್ ವರ್ಸಸ್ ಎ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಪವರ್ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಪವರ್ ಇಸ್ ಲೆಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆಸ್ ಫಾರ್ as will is concerned. Divine power is more strong as far as will is concerned. So they back their desire with stronger willpower. Human beings back their desire with a lesser willpower. That's all is the difference. The more stronger the will, the more immediate is the manifestation. That's all it is.
Sir, but ಒಂದು ಏನಂತಂದ್ರೆ in terms of understanding nothingness or zero, conceptually I am able to grasp it. Conceptually there is some aim ಅಂತ directed ಮಾಡಿ ತಗೊಬೋದು. But I don't know why there is also a skepticism at the back of the mind. Isn't it just a belief getting strongly imprinted as a faith, and that of course if there are experiences attached to it, I might that can be a strong not just a belief, it would be a manifestation of the belief itself. And I would, it would strongly push me towards it. So what is it that I have to look for to actually keep that belief going, Anta, rather than just have that skepticism at the back of the mind? Because these are just conceptual understandings of just a concept, yeah, until I reach it.
Everything in human mind starts with an idea. So all that you need to have when you are in spirituality is being open to the idea. Skepticism comes because of the wrong direction of the flow of the mind. That's all it is. Why should you be skeptical? You ask yourself a question. A child, when you teach something, will not get skeptic about anything. The child believes in whatever it is taught and then gradually learns from it. Why should it be backed by skepticism is a question that is the fallacy of an adult mind, adult intellectual mind. Everything that an adult mind looks at starts with the notion of skepticism. That's why Babaji says, don't start with skepticism or doubt. Start with a feeling of wonder or curiosity. That's a better way of approaching any subject. ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ UPSC ಕಲಿಬೇಕು, ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸ್ಕೆಪ್ಟಿಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ UPSC ಫಂಕ್ಷನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ಯು ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಅಚೀವ್ ಬೈ ದಟ್? If you approach UPSC with the context of, oh, let me see how things are, approach with a purpose of wonder or curiosity, then there's a possibility that there will be things that you might be able to do and improve. If you approach the same topic, any material topic also, for that matter, forget about spirituality. You have to do something. ಯಾರೊಬ್ರು ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, they start with skepticism. ನಾ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ? Just that skepticism that ಮಾಡ್ತೀನೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ, they've already weakened their willpower. So it actually makes their ability to accomplish what they're doing more difficult. So rather than that, okay, engineering ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, let me see how I'm going to do. Let me approach this with wonder or curiosity. That will leave the mind open for all the possibilities that might come through. Skepticism narrows the ability of the mind for what is coming towards it. Wonder or curiosity increases the capacity of the mind to welcome what is coming towards it. Skepticism in that way has a negative connotation associated with it. Wonder or curiosity has a positive connotation associated with it. That's all it is. So never approach any subject with skepticism. That might not be the best approach. That might not be the best utilization of the power of the mind God has given us. Right. Secondly, in terms of nothingness and zeroness, what is the context in which he is talking about? I'll tell you. ನೀ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಕಲಿತೀಯ, ನೀ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಕಲ್ತಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ನಾ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಕಲ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀಯಾ? Once it recedes into the background, don't you think you actually forget?
Yeah.
You are in that state of forgetfulness. Although you know how to ride a cycle, but you are established in the state of forgetfulness. When the need arises, you are able to recall what you know and then you are actually able to execute it. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸೈಕಲ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಆಫ್ ನೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೋ. ಸಪೋಸ್ ಯು ಲರ್ನ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಲೈಫ್, whatever is there in life to be learned, everything you learn, everything you know, everything you experience. But would it be okay for you to carry the burden of all that learning and knowing? Or would it be okay to kind of just put all those things aside and just be free? Which is better? Yeah, better.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, first one, Andre. To carry the burden of knowing and experiencing, or to just leave it and recall it when necessary, when the occasion requires it.
When it requires, yeah.
ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಅದನ್ನೇ ನಥಿಂಗ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಜೀರೋ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಏನೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಗೊತ್ತು, ಆದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಬರ್ಡನ್ನ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ನೀನು ಸೈಕಲ್ ಕಲ್ತಿರುವಂತ ಬರ್ಡನ್ ನೀ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಆಸ್ ಆಫ್ ನೋ, ಬಟ್ ನೀನು ಸೈಕಲ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣನೇ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕ್ಲಿ ಹೊಡಿತೀಯ. ನೀವು ಆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ, ಅಯ್ಯೋ ನಾನು ಸೈಕಲ್ 10 ವರ್ಷ ಆಯ್ತು ಕಲ್ತು ನನಗೆ ಪೆಡ್ಲ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಲಿಡದೆ ಮರ್ತೋಗಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಸೀಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದೇ ಮರ್ತೋಗಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಯಾವುದು ನಿಂಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆನೇ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಸೈಕಲ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಹೊಡಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀಯ. but you don't carry the burden of that. In other words, you are empty of that learning. It's there in the background. It's gone into the state of unawareness. Likewise, just take the example of learning the cycle as one thing and apply it to everything that is to be known in this world. So you become all knowing. You become an all experienced person. All states you have experienced, whatever they are in spirituality. Now the choice is two. Would you want to carry the burden of all knowing and all experiencing, or have that in the background, but just be a free person in a state of unawareness, like a child? So we will, when we reach that particular stage, we'll automatically feel, that is a better state. ಆರಾಮಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಯಾಕೆ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದು? ನಾನು ಬೆಟ್ಟದ ಮೇಲೆ ಹತ್ತಬೇಕು. ಬೆಟ್ಟದ ಮೇಲೆ ಹತ್ತಿ ನಾ ಗುರಿ ಮುಟ್ಟಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ? ನಾ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದೆಲ್ಲ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಓದಿದೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ಹಾಗೇ ಹಾಕೊಂಡೆ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀನ, ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ಇಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಫ್ರೀ ಆಗಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನ. ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ನಾನು? ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ಇಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಕ್ಕಕ್ಕಿಟ್ಟು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ದಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ ಝೀರೋ ಅಂತ ಬರೀತಾರೆ. ನಥಿಂಗ್ನೆಸ್ ಝೀರೋ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಏನೂ ಕಲಿಯಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಲಿತು ಆ ಕಲ್ತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಬರ್ಡನ್ನ ಪಕ್ಕಕ್ಕಿಟ್ಟು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ದಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ನೆಸ್ ಆರ್ ಝೀರೋ. A state which is reached after you have crossed the state of all knowingness. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ಜಿ ಕೆ ಯಾರಪ್ಪ? ಸೊ ಜಿ ಕೆದು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇರಲೇಬೇಕು.
It's Gopal Krishna here.
Yeah.
So basically, there are also other systems that I had read through also talk about nothingness. How is that different than this nothingness? Is there any difference?
Nothingness, if it is experienced as not knowing anything, it's a wrong approach. Nothingness is a state which comes after the state of all knowing. In other words, you will try to do all the things necessary for you to get to know all the conditions, all the states that you pass through. Now that is when you become all knowing. ತುಂಬಾ ಜನ nothingness ಅಂದಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣನೇ they start negating all the life experiences. That is not nothingness. You experience everything that you have to go through in spiritual experience, accept it, acknowledge it, assimilate it, digest it, make it part of yourself, and then don't carry the burden of it. That is the state of nothingness that we are talking about. When people talk about nothingness in the other system, they negate the experience itself, and that's not right. So experiencing everything, learning from experiences, and being unburdened by the experience is what is required. Not wanting the experience itself. That is not nothingness or zero. I hope you got the point. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ?
Yes, I understood what nothingness is now, but it still doesn't answer my question of how is it different than other systems nothingness. Because it is talked about that Sahaj Marg has the capacity to reach the highest. So if nothingness is something that is
You did
highest,
not
then
catch
other
the point.
systems. Sorry?
You did not catch the point. What is the point that you got? You tell me. Because I've already answered your question. What is the point that you got?
It is beyond knowing everything. That's what.
1 minute.
Sorry. Yeah.
That is a previous point that we were discussing. ನಿನ್ನ
Okay.
ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ ಒಂದು ಉತ್ತರ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ನಥಿಂಗ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ. ನಥಿಂಗ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರ ಬರ್ಡನ್ ಇಂದ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು. ಅದು ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ದ ಸಹಜ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್. ಇನ್ ಅದರ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯು ನೆಗೆಟ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್. Here you don't withdraw from any experience. You go through all kinds of experiences. You learn from the kind of experiences, but you negate the experience in the end. You don't carry the burden of the experience or the learning of the burden of the learning from the burden of the experience. Both you negate, but after having passed through all the experiences. In other system, you negate the experience itself. Since I'm going towards nothingness, I don't want to experience this kind of food. I don't want to experience that kind of state of mind. I don't want to experience this. So basically, you avoid many situations in life which will give you experiences. In a Sahaj Marga, you go through all experiences, all situations, whatever they come into you.
Got it.
And then after having experienced everything, be out of it, unattached and non-identification with that particular experience. But you
Got
learn
it.
from the experience, and again, eventually, even the learning from the experience, you actually detach yourself from.
Mhm.
So
It
experiencing
sounds.
everything and standing
Mhm.
aloof, not experiencing or avoiding certain experiences, both will feel nothingness.
Mhm.
Deliver.
Yes, it seems like the other systems are sort of against the nature.
In a way, you can say that you are avoiding certain things. We
Mhm.
don't avoid anything. Whatever comes our way, we take it and then we evolve from it. So it's more in tune with what our samskaras bring out to the surface in our journey.
Got it.
So we are more in tune with nature, so to say. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ,
Got it.
nature is trying to work on you in certain way, but you are negating, you are avoiding certain things. So every difficult situation you want to avoid. Any uncomfortable situation you want to avoid. Here we don't do anything. Whatever comes our way, we try to get on with it, learn from it, but then stand apart from the experience after having learned from the experience. Remember one thing, you have to let go of the experience also eventually. You also have to let go of the learning from the experience also eventually to stand apart from it. Now, that doesn't mean to say you forget all the learnings. Don't do that. Don't think like that. If that is the case, it's like people with dementia. People with dementia in older age, they become forgetful of their life experiences. That is not what it is. A state of forgetfulness is not completeness or zero or nothingness. In nothingness, you are not carrying the burden of any learning or any experience. But whatever experience or learning that you need to apply appropriately in different life situations, you will do automatically. And that's why I gave you the example of car driving or cycling. Or even simple walking. As of now, you know walking, but as you grow older, you might forget walking also. There are many patients who forget walking. There are patients who forget brushing. Now, that is not the highest state of nothingness. Oh, I forgot my brushing, so I have now moved to the highest state of nothingness. No. In nothingness, you will remember everything, but you don't carry the burden of remembering. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ?
Yes,
And
yes.
I hope it's very clear. So dementia is not nothingness. Dementia is not state of zero. So please be very, very clear. ತುಂಬಾ ಜನ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಹಾ ಅವರು ಮರ್ತು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ವಯಸ್ಸಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಗುಡ್ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುವಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. It's a good spiritual state, but it's not a good mental state, and you require the mind for your realization. Without the mind, you will not realize. A purified mind is the one which is going to give you an indication about self-realization. So please remember that. So mind is absolutely necessary for our self-realization. All conditions are manifest in the heart, but picked up from the mind. Now meditation ಮುಗಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಏನು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ, ಫೀಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ಹೇಳ್ರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಿಂದ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ, ಹಾರ್ಟಿಂದ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ? ನಂಗೆ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಮನಸ್ಸು ಅದನ್ನು ಪಿಕಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಮನಸ್ಸು ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಉತ್ತರ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಿ ನೀವು. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಮೈಂಡ್ ಇಸ್ ಅಬ್ಸಲ್ಯೂಟ್ಲಿ ನೆಸೆಸರಿ. 12ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ವರೆಗೂ 13ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆಗೋವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಅವರ್ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್. 13ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಕೆಲಸ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಅಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಅವರ್ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್. All experiences, mind experiences it. All the learning from the experience, mind is the one which grasps it. So we have to be very, very, what do you say, careful in utilizing the mind for the right purpose. And when people drink alcohol, they are damaging the very instrument that they can take you to the highest. When they get addicted to different drugs, they are damaging the mind, which can take them to the highest. So that's why we say, don't eat non-veg, don't drink, don't smoke, or don't take any drugs. Why do we say that? You don't want to damage the very instrument that can take you to the highest. You want the instrument that can lead you to the highest to be healthy. So the body and mind are the instrument. So it's our duty to keep the body and mind healthy and not do anything which can make them unhealthy. Because those are the two instruments that we have brought ourselves, the soul has brought in order to evolve to the highest. And the soul does not want the body and mind to be damaged. ಸರಿ ಆಯ್ತು. ಇನ್ನೇನು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಯಶಸ್ಸು ಸೈಲೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ರಚಿತಾ ಇವಾಗ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾಳೆ. ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಲೇಟ್ ಲತೀಫು. ರಚಿತಾ
Uncle, one question. Self-realization ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, so the possibility of attaining the highest, ಅದನ್ನ self-realization ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀರಾ when you contemplate internally, or is it something else that pops up internally?
It's even more higher than that. The highest goal ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ the center or source or nothingness or zero or bhuma ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರೀತಾ ಇದಾರಲ್ಲ ಬಾಬುಜಿ, it is far beyond self-realization. First to lowest stage is salvation. Salvation ಅಂದ್ರೆ temporary pause in the cycle of life and death. ಇದು salvation. ಅದು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. 6ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಲಿಬರೇಷನ್. Liberation is a permanent end to the cycle of life and death. And it's a evolution from one level to another level. Automatic evolution. You are not born here to evolve. You are kind of at there are different levels of spirituality and you evolve automatically. So that is the liberation. So ಅರ್ಥಲ್ಲಿ life and death ಬರಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ವಾಪಸ್. Liberation. Then third stage is self-realization, where you go beyond the realm of the body and the mind attachment, identification. And you now establish yourself in your self, the true self. ಇವಾಗ ಈ ಜನ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಇದು ಅಂತ ಏನು ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಫಾಲ್ಸ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್. In this life we think that we are a computer engineer. In this life we think that we are doctor, lawyers, CS, whatever we think. We think that we are so and so. Now none of it is valid in sleep. Correct alva? Sleep alli yav lawyer, yav doctor, yav CA. Nobody is there. In sleep everyone becomes equal. Correct alva? Because we have no awareness of the body or the mind. We are there but just there, without necessarily identifying with the body or the mind. Correct? So this identity that we forget in sleep cannot be the true identity, because it's only apparent in one situation, not in other situations. In dream we take another identity. In dream also we are not whatever we are now in the waking state. We take another identity. We are doing so many things in dreams ಅಲ್ವಾ? ನಿಖಿಲ್ನ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ಡ್ರೀಮ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ ಹೇಳು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಡ್ರೀಮ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ, ಆ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಟಿ ಬೇರೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ನೋಡಿ, ವಿ ಆಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ 3 ಐಡೆಂಟಿಟೀಸ್. One, in sleep we have a different identity, which is almost like a non-identity. We don't even know what we have in sleep. All that we know is that we are not the body or the mind. We have no awareness of the body and the mind. That is deep sleep. Then in dream sleep we have some identity, but it's different from the identity of the waking state. And then you have another identity in the waking state which is different from the sleep and the dream state. So what is reality? What is true identity? True identity is something which is common across all the 3 states. That which is common across all the 3 states is the true self. This is the third stage, and that realization of the true self is called as self-realization. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ಗೆ ದ ಹೈಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ಭೂಮಾ ರಿಯಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆರ್ ದ ರಿಯಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಸೋರ್ಸ್. ದಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಒನ್. ಸೊ ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ರಿಯಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ದಾಟಿ ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಸ್ಯಾಲ್ವೇಷನ್, ಲಿಬರೇಷನ್, ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ರಿಯಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಭೂಮಾ ರಿಯಲೈಸೇಷನ್ 4 ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಉಂಟು. ಆ ಭೂಮಾ ರಿಯಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ನ ನಾವು ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಸೋಲ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಅಲ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಆಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್, ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಭೂಮಾ. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವರ್ಡು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತಾರೆ ಉರ್ದುನಲ್ಲಿ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಧುರ್ ಅಂತ, ಧುರ್, ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಧುರ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅನದರ್ ಟರ್ಮಿನಾಲಜಿ ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ಡ್, talked about the same thing. The center is called as in the another name. In Urdu, it is called as a different name. So there are multiple ways of addressing the same thing. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟು ಆಗಬೇಕು ನಮಗೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಒಂದೊಂದೇ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುವಲ್ ಜರ್ನಿನಲ್ಲಿ. ವಿ ಗ್ರಾಜುಲಿ ಮೂವ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಒನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಟು ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟು ದ ಲೆವೆಲ್. I hope that all the 4 stages are clear now. Everyone has to go through the 4 stages in order to reach the highest in this life itself, which is aligned with the Bhuma. Now that doesn't mean to say alignment with the Bhuma agid takshana we shut the body and die. No. Alignment with the Bhuma admele we will have a different purpose for life. So we will start working on that purpose. ಆ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಭೂಮಾ ರಿಯಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Then we start leading life for that particular purpose till we exist here in this body. So you should not assume that just because Bhuma realization agito ಅಥವಾ self realization ಆಗಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ body will drop dead ಅಂತ. Nothing of that kind will ever happen. That's like saying engineer ಆಗಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ our body will drop dead, MD ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ our body will drop dead ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ. ಇನ್ನು ನಿಖಿಲ್ಗೆ ಏನೋ ಆ ಥರ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸರ್ ಯಾವ UPSC ಬೇಡ, KS ಬೇಡ, ನಾನು ಆರಾಮಾಗಿರ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ ಅವನು ಅಲ್ವಾ? If you were to tell somebody that the moment you reach the goal your body will drop dead ಅಂದ್ರೆ nobody will do anything. Alva. So we learn to exist after reaching the goal, utilizing the body and mind that we have got. So reaching the goal should not be equated to shedding the body and the mind. Is that clear? So ಹೆದರುಗಳು ಅಂತ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. In fact, spirituality makes you get over all the fears. It will not introduce one more fear in the end. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸರಿಪ್ಪ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸೋಣ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ. ಆ ಫೈನಲ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಂತಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡೋಣ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್. ಸರಿನಾ? 9 ಗಂಟೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಬಂತು. ಸೊ ಇನ್ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಏನು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ವಾ? ಸಂದೇಶ ಏನು ಸಂದೇಶ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಂತಿದ್ಯಪ್ಪ? ಸಂದೇಶ ಈ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿದ್ರೆ ಸಂದೇಶ ಕೊಡ್ತಾನೆ
ಸರ್. ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊತಿದ್ದೆ ಸರ್.
ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಯಾ?
ಹಾ
ಏನೋ ಅರ್ಥವಾಯ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿ?
ಹಾ ಸರ್, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತು ಸರ್.
ಸೊ ಈಗ ನಿಖಿಲ್ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ದ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ಇವಾಗ ನಾವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಟ್ ಒನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ? ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿದಾಗ ನಾವು ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಆಯಾ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಅದನ್ನು ಗುರುತಿಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದು ಗುರುತಿಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಯೋಜನ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಬಂದರೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಬಂದು ಹೋಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಆಗಿರಲ್ಲ. So all these things that you are learning from the book will help you to recognize the stages that you are passing through eventually out of your practice. That's the whole idea of reading the book and assimilating the knowledge which is present in the book. So to make our journey faster, the books are written. Okay. And you approach the book with a degree of openness and not with skepticism. Because everything that is written in the book, all of us will pass through. If we were to persist with our practice and are aligned with the principles that we are talking about, we will all pass through these stages. So we don't need to be skeptical about it. ಅವ್ರು ಏನೋ ಬರ್ದಿರೋ ಅವ್ರಿಗಾಯ್ತು ನನಗಾಗತ್ತೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ ಏನೋ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ವಿಲ್ ಆಲ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಇಟ್. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಈಗ MBBS ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಸೇರಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಪಾಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ಎಲ್ಸ್ ಹೂ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಡನ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪಾಸ್ಟ್. UPSC course you have to go through the same process that everybody else in the past have gone through. There is no different for you. You might feel it and experience it differently, but the process is the same. So now you are underlying or you're understanding or grasping the process that you are going to undergo. Same, huh? But the process is different. Experiencing the process is different. Each one of you might experience the process differently, but the process will still be the same for everyone. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸರಿ, ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ 9:01 ಆಯ್ತು. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಟೈಮ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಇಂದ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ 8 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಲಾಗಿನ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಎವ್ರಿ ಫ್ರೈಡೆ ಅಂಡ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಟ್ಯೂಸ್ಡೇ 8 o'clock ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್, 8 to 9. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸರಿ, ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಗುಡ್ ನೈಟ್. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಈ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ನ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಸೊ ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸರಿ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ.